Welcome back to the Space Gulag, otherwise known as your favorite hangout place, the PPSW, and today we're back with another Star Wars theory. I'm super excited for this one. I really liked how this turned out. I was really happy with how it ended. So stay tuned for the ending, of course. Subscribe if you're new and you want to win a free lightsaber because we're doing a giveaway at 10K. Also, subscribe to Concordia Jedi down below. Awesome channel, awesome dude. Go check him out. Anyways, let's get straight into the theory. What would have happened if Mace Windu took it upon himself to train the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker? As we all know from watching the movies, Mace Windu had his fair share of disliking for Anakin. However, how would the training go for Anakin if the Master of the Order took it upon himself to train him, essentially? So, before we go into this, there are two ways this could go, light or dark. If you want to see the other version of this, let me know down below, but I'm going to stick with what we have right here. So this all starts right at the end of The Phantom Menace. Obi-Wan has defeated Maul, but at the cost of his master, Qui-Gon Jinn. Obi-Wan has told the Council that he promised his master that he would train the boy, and there was nothing deterring him from that line of thought. The Council did not agree with this idea, and they did not agree with Obi-Wan training the boy, let alone training the Chosen One. The Council decided to make a compromise. Since Mace Windu was the youngest Jedi brought onto the Jedi Council, and the Master of the Order, it should be up to him if he wants to take the boy into his training or not. Windu decided he would meditate on it, and meditate he did. And eventually, he came to the idea that he would train the Chosen One. He wasn't fond of it, but the Force led him to his decision. Obi-Wan would be outraged that the Council wouldn't allow him to keep the promise to Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan would slowly become just like his master over the years and become more renegade-like of a Jedi. Windu would keep an eye on Anakin's development for the next following years, after he was accepted into the Jedi Order. Anakin was becoming extremely skilled, but his difficulties with other apprentices becoming very apparent. In a situation Mace had to defuse, he realized everything he needed to be for Anakin. The situation was a few Jedi mocking Anakin for being a slave to his attachments, in which Anakin used the Force to pull their lightsaber away from them. Windu told Anakin that this wasn't his place to issue out discipline, but he also told Anakin that it was time to have a serious talk between the two of them, a master and apprentice talk. The two would walk across the Jedi Temple, having their first real master and apprentice interaction. Anakin felt a void between the two of them. Mace never really interacted with Anakin other than watching him train. Anakin stopped in the middle of the hallway and looked at his master, and Mace stopped and looked down at the boy, and felt the distraught, abandoned feeling within him. Mace at this point realized that for Anakin he needed to bend the rules of the normal training. This was a young teen who had grown as a slave, and was destined to be the most powerful Jedi in the history of the Order. Mace placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder and knelt down beside him to get eye to eye with the boy. Mace apologized for not being a better master. Mace then did something that Anakin never thought was possible. Mace told him that he would never understand anything that Anakin went through on Tatooine, all the pain and suffering that Anakin had endured. It wasn't the normal path of a Jedi. But Mace then said that they would return to Tatooine to free his mother. But before Mace could finish saying the word, Anakin wrapped his arms around his master. This moment would define the relationship between master and apprentice, the moment where Mace could admit he hadn't been doing right by Anakin, and that Anakin finally felt that there was someone in the temple that he could actually trust, someone that he could believe in, someone that he could see and look up to. The two would embark for Tatooine, and they'd find that Anakin's mother had been sold to the Lars moisture farm. Watto told the two Jedi that the queen from Naboo had been there a few months prior asking for the mother. Anakin's eyes glistened as he realized that Padme had come back to free his mother from slavery. Mace took note of Anakin's reaction, and on their journey to the Lars farm, he asked Anakin about Padme. Anakin would admit he had dreamed about her almost every night. Mace accepted what was said, and then told the boy that they would work on dealing with attachments in the near future. Anakin would finally reunite with his mother, both freed from slavery. Anakin would never forget that Mace had gone the distance to do this for him. It was the kindest gesture he had ever received in his life. After the visit, Mace would take Anakin to an abandoned Jedi temple on Taithon. The temple had been abandoned for thousands of years, but it was still able to be utilized by the Master of the Order and his apprentice. They would spend months at a time on Taithon. It was their location to train away from the other Jedi, a place for Anakin to grow naturally and learn from his master exclusively. It was also a place that Anakin learned how to balance himself within the Force. Windu would teach Anakin how to use Vaapad, otherwise known as Form 7, and Anakin would excel. The teaching time between Windu and Anakin would grow their bond greatly. Anakin used Form 7, which made him an extremely formidable opponent at his young age. And the fact that he was able to be trained by one of the best duelists and one of the best pilots in the Order, the Master and Apprentice duo's bond deepened even further. Mace would express how proud of his apprentice he was. Anakin felt complete peace internally. But because of his pain from his childhood and the peace he felt at the moment, he was extremely talented at Vaapad. Mace believed that Anakin would be ready to pass the trials. Anakin did so with flying colors and became one of the most prominent knights in the Order. Mace was excited for his apprentice, and as the timeline for Attack of the Clones rolled around, Anakin was already leagues further in his progression than he was in canon. Here's going to be some changes that happens to Anakin regarding Padme though. Because of his master, Anakin no longer held on to Padme so dearly, because she was another being who crossed paths with him. Anakin was extremely mature, and this was all due to the training he received from Master Windu. Obi-Wan, who had worked with Padme before, was requested to look after her assassination attempt. This would take Obi-Wan on a journey away from his current apprentice, who stayed with Padme. Obi-Wan instead followed a breadcrumb trail to Kamino and then eventually to Geonosis. So, essentially, there's a filler Jedi for Obi-Wan that is training under him, and that Jedi apprentice is the one that goes with Padme to Naboo. Windu and Anakin would be dispatched to Geonosis to save Obi-Wan Kenobi, who appeared to be in danger. The two would find themselves sneaking around a Geonosian hive. Not long after their arrival, though, Mace felt the presence of another former Jedi, Master Dooku. Mace had told Anakin about Dooku and how great of a duelist he was, but Anakin would be up to the challenge if their paths crossed. Remember, at this point, Anakin would be pushing the power he had in Revenge of the Sith. Mace and Anakin found themselves outside of a holding cell where Dooku was trying to convince Obi-Wan to join him. Obi-Wan declined the offer, but then Dooku said something ominous about the Galactic Republic being under the control of a Sith Lord. But Dooku never revealed who it was, and he said he was leaving. Anakin and Mace darted into the room and closed the door behind him, and Dooku was completely caught off guard. Mace used the Force to deactivate Obi-Wan's holding cell, and he dropped and regained his footing. Dooku was confronted by his former friend, Windu, about the Sith he spoke of. Dooku didn't want to relay this information, and Mace ignited his amethyst blade and held it towards him. Dooku reached for his blade, deciding if he wanted this duel or not. Before he could do anything, though, Anakin pulled his blade on Dooku, holding another amethyst blade to Dooku's hand. Dooku surrendered, and the Jedi captured the former Jedi, and they took him back to Coruscant. Dooku was brought before the Galactic Senate, and it was revealed that the Separatists had been amassing an army to conquer the galaxy. Dooku was also questioned about what he had told Obi-Wan Kenobi on Geonosis, and Dooku was obviously afraid of being killed by Palpatine. Though Palpatine in this situation is stuck. If he killed Dooku, the Separatists lost their leadership and could be easily convinced to join the Republic again. But Dooku could always end up confessing to the Senate about the grand plan to overthrow the Republic. Palpatine then decided that he would kill Dooku, but how could he? His cell was consistently surveyed by Jedi Knights, so he did the most obvious decision. He called for a Separatist invasion of Coruscant. Unbeknownst to him, Grandmaster Yoda was bringing the clone army and fleet back to Coruscant before war broke out. The Separatist fleet arrived and began dropping transports for ground invasion. Before they could get anywhere, though, a clone fleet arrived out of hyperspace, and ground transports that were heading towards the surface of Coruscant were obliterated. On the surface of Coruscant, some of the Jedi's best pilots jumped into their starfighters to defend the people of Coruscant. that Separatist plot could fail almost instantaneously. Lucrehawks were much stronger defensively than the Acclamator, but the sheer number of ships from the Republic fleet had the droid forces scrambling for a counter-offensive. At Dooku's holding cell, 4 Jedi Council members guarded the cell: Eth Koth, Shak Ti, Even Piel, and Agan Kolar. Palpatine made his way to the cell, not expecting Jedi to be present, but he found himself caught off guard by their presence. He thought for a moment. He knew he could best the 4 Jedi easily, but he didn't want to get caught in the act. He decided to attack the Jedi Masters, none of which expected the betrayal. Dooku didn't know if Palpatine had come to kill him or not, and used the lightsaber from the fallen Agan Kolar to break out, as Shak Ti, Even Piel, and Eth Koth struggled against Palpatine. Space Combat went brilliantly, as the Republic fleet was winning in its home territory, as planetary fleets across the deep core were arriving to support the clone fleet. Master Yoda, though, felt a disturbance in the Force, and was ushered to the holding cell Dooku was kept at. On his way, he requested Mace, Plo, and Anakin to join him. They landed and found Dooku breaking out of his cell, and Master Agan Kolar dead before the cell. Dooku was force-pushed against the wall by Skywalker as the 4 Jedi made their way to the sound of blades clashing. Eth Koth fell as Palpatine felt the disturbance in the Force, turning to see Anakin, Plo, Mace, and Yoda arriving all at once. He knew the gig was up, and that he was caught and needed to win this fight. But Dooku was unconscious at the back of his cell, so he was fighting alone. Anakin and Windu stepped forward at first. Their bond was stronger than anything a dyad in the Force could be. They fought in a tight unison, blocking and striking decisively. They turned Palpatine's offense against him and pushed him back. Anakin was the weaker one after all, but Windu had his back. The defining characteristic of this duo was shining through. It was their unbreakable bond, and Palpatine couldn't break its defenses. He tried and tried. Even with 2 blades, he was no match for the duo of Mace and Skywalker. Palpatine found his opening and jolted a layer of lightning into the stomach of Anakin, and the shock stunned him momentarily. Mace began to take on Palpatine alone. He had to do it. If he didn't, his apprentice could have been struck down. Mace took advantage of this and turned Palpatine around. Shak Ti tried to strike at Palpatine, but was parried and shoved back by the Force. Piel tried, but was thrown across the room at Plo Koon. All of these distractions took Palpatine away from Mace, but Mace wasn't the chosen one. Anakin rose up from behind the Chancellor and ran his amethyst blade through Palpatine's chest, killing the Sith Lord. The Jedi mourned those they lost, and they had Dooku tried before the Senate. The Senate found it was Palpatine all along who was vying for power, but trying to orchestrate a war between the Republic and the Separatists. The Clone Wars would rage on, but not for long. They would be cut short by diplomacy, and the Jedi would never become generals in a war. Anakin, after successfully training Ahsoka, would become a master and be welcomed into the High Council for defeating the Sith. The Jedi would strive to have peace throughout the galaxy, and the Jedi Order would remove itself from politics of the Republic. Instead, with Mace and Anakin leading it, they would move towards being the peacekeepers of the galaxy that they were meant to be. Wow. Okay. So as you can tell, this was obviously the lighter side ending. I always want to try and tell a different story when I tell these. Obviously, people would expect this to be a dark story, a story about Mace Windu being an awful master to Anakin and turning Anakin to the dark side. And that's why I made that comment at the beginning, because honestly, I think this is a nice, compelling story, and that's always what I try and go for with these theories for you guys. I want to give a compelling story. I don't want to just do what you expect, which I know sounds really Rian Johnson-esque. But I want to tell a cohesive story, and a story that you can feel an emotional attachment to characters that you already know. And I talk about this every so often at the end of videos and theories, but this one is one of those theories that I was like, well, here's an opportunity to do something different with 2 characters that we're familiar with. It's not saying that Mace Windu was a bad Jedi during the prequels and canon, or not, but it is saying that it was within his character and within his boundaries to actually be the teacher that Anakin needed. Obviously, we could do this theory again and, have Anakin, like, break the universe in half and be, like, emotionally distraught and be like that meme of that guy saying emotional damage, but that's for another time. For now, though, I enjoyed where this went. I didn't want to draw out the Palpatine fight, and I've talked about this a lot in more recent videos, that I don't want to keep doing the Palpatine fight because it kind of gets old writing it over and over again. That's why I had this happen in episode 2 rather than episode 3, because it lets me change up the scenery a bit, gives me a different location to work with, more Jedi, less Jedi, you know how it goes. So I try and keep this fresh on the channel. I don't want to just give the same stuff. I know other Star Wars channels had repetitively done the same time frame and then had the same kind of theories revolving around that time frame, and I don't want to do that. I want to give you guys unique stories each time, so I do hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like down below and subscribe. It really helps out this channel. We've blown up this channel so much since it hit 1,000, like a week ago? Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys do know that. I love you guys so much, and I appreciate you guys blowing this channel up and enjoying these theories, because I spend a lot of time on them, and it really means a lot that you guys really enjoy the content that I put out for you guys. Anyways, though, I love you all, spread the love, and always remember, my friends, may the Force be with you.